Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Last time we talked a little bit about taking a QR code in the form of an image and producing a 3D model. But this time we want to take that concept a little bit further. What if we can take AI generated images, maybe starting with an AI generated QR code and taking it all the way to a 3D printed model? And it actually works. You scan it with a camera and it will actually take you to the website. It took me much less effort to do this. I use a software called HueForge, which has been really impressive. I've been running all kinds of experiments on it. Check this out, for example. This is one of my first prints, and it looks like an artist did it with some kind of thick paint that just layered one on top of the other. This is amazing. I started producing many more and just trying out different colors, different themes, different mixes. So let's jump right to it. One of my favorite websites to do this with is Gooey.ai. So we start with something like Gooey.ai. It could also be the Huggingface QR Code Generator. There's a number of them out there, some free, some paid. The idea is to get that image, right, that we can take and bring into a software like HueForge. This is their default example. It's pretty cool. My prompt is vector art of an astronaut. I find that vector art tends to be a little more printable. Black hole, exploding stars, planets, explosions. I really just want some kind of effects with particles and light and all kinds of madness happening in the background. Energy field, wormhole, darkness of space. I'm also going to direct this to a placeholder URL, and I'm going to click on submit. 15.8 seconds later, it produced two images. The first one's looking pretty good, right? This is something that we can 3D print. The lines are clear. The subject is clear. The background is close to what I asked for. The second one, background is okay too. The subject, not so much. I'm not really sure what happened to that astronaut's body. But yeah, we're sticking with the first one. And it's as simple as right-clicking and saving image to downloads. For the next step, we're going to need HueForge, the Filament Paintings software. Now you can get this at thehueforge.com. They have many different licenses you can choose from. The personal one starts at $18 US. I think that's a very reasonable price for what it can do. Once you have HueForge installed and launched, you'll get this blank canvas here. There is one thing I have that may be different between what I have set up and what you may see when you initially start this, is that I have my filaments set up in the top left here. So in this owned section, we will see all the different filaments I have currently available in my shop. So to begin, we're going to go ahead and drag and drop that image we created in the QR code generator. We already have a 3D model we can start with. You can use your left mouse button to click and drag around and see the 3D model in effect, and the different layers, the texture, the grains, and how it's currently doing it by default. So we're already off to a great start. The idea is to drag and drop your colors. So I'm going to drag black into black, white into white. Now I do want to use some other colors as well, and the other thing too is that I would like to make this a little bit thicker. I want about a 3mm thickness for this print. So I'm going to change max depth to 3mm right here in the model geometry section. When I change the depth, the white lever dropped a bit, so I'm going to bring that all the way to the top here. And I'm going to start introducing the colors that I find that are going to map to what I have in the final image. I want to get this as close as possible. Now you can mix and match these colors in any way you like. You can be creative with it. You're not constrained to creating the exact image. I'm just going to go ahead and try to see how closely I can map it to the image we got from the QR code generator. So we got a little bit of yellow in there. I'm going to go and drag yellow. We also have a little bit of red, and we have blue. Now the idea is to manipulate these levers and try to get it as close as possible through trial and error. Now I'm also going to change the luminance method to color aware, so it groups the colors accordingly to what it sees in the source image. Now for the colors, I'm going to go ahead and start testing these out a little bit. Maybe a 16 for blue, a 20 for yellow. For red, maybe about 18. You'll see we're starting to come up somewhere pretty close to the final image. And black, I think 7. We'll leave black at 7. These numbers, by the way, are indicative of the layer heights. So when you see the number 7, what we're saying is from layers 0 to 7, it's black. And then from layers 7 to 16, we're going to have blue. And then from layers 16 to 18, it's going to be red. So with this final 3D model, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. I have depth, I have the information encoded, I have colors that match the original source image to some degree. So all that we have to do now is click on File, Save Project, choose any name you like, and then click Save. Saving it automatically generates 4 files in your HueForge directory. That source image will be copied over into that directory. You'll also have the product file, the 3D model, and finally instructions for how to layer the colors when we get to the slicer. And they look something like this. They will tell you the infill, the filaments used, and when to change the colors. Jumping straight into the 3D printer slicer, in my case I'm using Bambu Lab Studio. Drag and drop that STL file from HueForge right in the center. I'm gonna go ahead and resize it about half the X and half the Y with uniform scale unchecked. You could also do this in HueForge, by the way. And let's follow the instructions that HueForge gave us. So starting from the very top, print at 100% infill with a layer height of 0.08 millimeters with a base layer of 0.16 millimeters. Okay, so let's select the 0.08 millimeter profile as a base. In the layer height, the first layer is 0.16. In the strength tab, let's make the infill 100%. We're going to be asked to change to a different infill pattern. Just click on yes. The next step is to click on slice plate, and once you have your initial slice, you'll see that it's not quite the right color. That's because if you look at the top right here, the color scheme is assigned to line type. Just hit the drop down and click on filament. And those white dots you see there are just the seams. You could ignore those for now. But really the interesting area here is towards the right, the slider. We're going to be assigning the layer transitions. Now, I have an AMS system, which is an automatic material system. It changes up to 4 colors automatically. You don't need this. You could still do this if you have a regular 3D printer with a standard manual filament change process. The idea is the same. Instead of having the AMS change the filament at certain points, you're just going to have to pause at these points and then go ahead and take out the old filament and add in a new color. So the idea is that I take the slider here and I position it to our first instruction point. So we already have here the charcoal black as a base. The next step is at layer 7, swap to sapphire blue. So layer 7, right click, change filament, sapphire blue. Layer 16, right click, change filament, army red. Layer 18, right click, change filament, savannah yellow. And finally, layer 20, we're going to change it to cotton white. And with that, slice plate once more. Once it finishes slicing, you'll get something that looks a lot closer to what we saw in HueForge. It's not exactly there because it doesn't take translucence into effect, but this is good enough of a preview for us to get going. The final step is to make sure you have the right colors mapped out here correctly to what you have in your AMS unit or your multi-material system. And if you don't have any one of those and you're just doing this manually, then you'll just have to make sure that when the pauses are reached, that you enter in the right filaments in the sequence so that you get the effect that you're looking for. So let's click on print plate. And once we verified our color selection is correct, we can go ahead and click send. There it is. That's the final image. It looks even better in person. And you can apply these techniques to any AI generated image. It doesn't have to be a QR code. You can embed data in all kinds of ways. The results speak for themselves. We live in an exciting time. All these new technologies are coming out, especially with image generation. And I mean, it's like being a kid in a candy store. Look at these. These are incredible. And more to come, right? So have fun, have at it, enjoy, and see you in the next one.